Hello, everybody! It's time for Let's Practice. It's time for Let's Practice. Welcome to the show where we're all gonna learn about practicing together. I've been practicing music this week, as I'm sure many of you have been. And I want to share a little bit about what I've been practicing, yay! But we're not just gonna practice. We're gonna talk about ways to practice better. And also, if you got any questions or advice, I'd love to hear it. The first thing for the day is we're gonna practice playing in B melodic minor on the G and B strings. So I've got a number of things that I've been working on with that. Some of them are like speed related, just getting the muscle memory down, and then some of them are improvisational. So since I've already got the loop going, I'll start with some improv. So here we are on the B and G strings, these two. And in the key of B melodic minor, it's just like B major, but with a minor third. So you've got B, C sharp, D instead of D sharp. D sharp would be in major, but you got B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. You get that spacey melodic minor sound. And I'm going to improvise using just these notes on the G and B strings. And the reason I'm limiting myself to these strings is because I want to get really comfortable with soloing in melodic minor to an even greater extent than I ever have been before. Because if you don't refresh your memory on these things, they eventually get weaker. And melodic minor, I wouldn't call it sexy. I'd call it creepy. And it's not scary. Scary like, you know, sometimes scary is like, boo, and then you're like, ah! But this is creepy. This is more like, hey, got any Tylenol? So, got any Tylenol? Welcome, Jonathan Bjornsson. Thank you very much for super chatting me, making me a rich boy. I can finally go out and I can, I'm gonna become a real person today. It's all starting today. Really appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions. So here we are in B melodic minor on the G and B strings, being creepy as can be. We'll make it low. All right. That's something really nice you can do in melodic minor, is you can do a lot of symmetrical things. Like here's a major third, D, F sharp, major third. You can slide that up to another major third, E, G sharp, and then another major third, F sharp, A sharp. And then when you get here, you switch to minor thirds, and you can go minor third, minor third, minor third, minor third. So you can just do major thirds and minor thirds in like a lot in a row. So let's mess around with that for a bit. That's nice stuff to mess with. I'm going to try to challenge myself a bit and do some things I don't normally do very well. So let's give it a try. I'm going to play fast, like this. My thinking level has increased a lot. My listening level has decreased a lot. I'm much more nervous when I'm doing this. So I need to breathe. Relax my shoulders. Relax my right hand, relax my left hand, let myself just make mistakes or not. So that's a nice way to get started. I like to do improv first before anything because I feel like making that direct connection with your creativity and with music is like sort of like a treat. So it's like, hey, I'm going to start practicing now. I deserve a little treat because that's definitely like the most fun stuff to practice. And if you only practice improv for years and years, your technique degrades and you don't actually necessarily expand your improv vocabulary that much. So it's very helpful to balance that very fun way of practicing with some of the sometimes more arduous ways of practicing, just running scales or learning, like transcribing things by ear. That can be fun, but I find it to be the most thought-intensive form of practice is to like try to learn something by ear and memorize it as you go. And sometimes you just don't feel ready to think so hard, you know. It can be a long day, you're tired, and the only time you have to practice is like, you know, for this hour at the end of the day. You might not have it in your brain space to, you know, go all the way for the transcription, which can be, you know, like a really thought-provoking thing, really thoughtful and difficult. Instead, it's fun to just kind of jam. So I'm realistic about that. I know like I'm not going to be able to do hard practice every day, but if you start with the jam, if you let yourself ease into it that way, once you've started playing a bit and once you've started practicing, you tend to like get into more of a zone where you want to do something harder. For example, a transcription, or in my case, sometimes it's the scales themselves. Like even though you can just kind of run scales and blow off steam that way. I find my attention span for them has decreased significantly over the years as I've become more and more narcissistic, and that's life. So let's see what are people saying. So we have, so I saw earlier someone asked what I'm improvising over. I made a loop before this started, and that's like, it's just a D on the D string and another D, and then I move one of the Ds down a half step, get that crunch, and it goes then down, so then it becomes a perfect fourth. So it's a unison, a minor second, and a perfect fourth, and it's expanding. And now GNU Ninja has woefully confessed on the chat that unfortunately I have the GNU Ninja is claiming to have the musical ability of a 1970s pet rock. And I gotta give you credit for that. That is very creative. And I also should say, I'm guessing, based on the immense creativity in that description, you probably got lots of good ideas in your brain. So let's move on now to practicing this a little bit more methodically with a metronome. So I'm just gonna get my happy little click going. Let's get the click going. So here we have a click that's a bit too quiet for me. Alright, it's louder now. And I'm got it at 70 beats per minute. I think that's a good starting tempo for this. And I'm going to just go 3 notes per string, up and down. And I want to play each note very evenly and lightly, with my pick actually almost parallel with the strings. I'm trying not to slice too much. Alright, now I'm going to switch to triplets. In real life, I'd probably do the whole thing again, but this is also like a show where I'm like trying to keep it interesting for you. So I'm just gonna run one more time with the triplets up to the top, and now 16ths. Really, in real life, I would do each of these for quite a bit longer. Alright. And the reason I'm playing this pretty well is because I've been practicing it all week. But on Monday when I started, I was making a lot more mistakes. Now we'll do faster triplets. All right. Nice. So that's the idea. You practice it in an improv setting, but then you want to spend a good amount of time shedding it. Now, I was switching at 70 beats per minute between eighths, triplets, 16th note triplets. But it's actually better to just increase the tempo of the metronome by about 10 BPM once you feel really, really solid at the current BPM. But the reason I'm flipping between triplets and doing that now is because I'm more just demonstrating what I'm practicing rather than straight up doing a full routine, because this beginning part I do for quite a while when I can. But hello, Bazoogu, welcome from France, and thank you for €5 towards my next yacht. The first yacht, I'm glad you mentioned my yachts, because my first yacht burned down in a very interesting fire. And what happened, I don't know why this happened, but when it lit a flame, it was a gorgeous magenta, and there was all these blue hues, and it smelled a lot like Pop Rocks, which is a candy that pops in your mouth. And it was very interesting just to watch my, life savings and everything I've ever wanted, because, I'm a big yacht guy, just to watch that burn down, but in such good colors and with such a wonderful smell. So thank you for bringing that up, and I appreciate everybody who was on that yacht, and I am glad I miss you, and I'm glad I can remember you. I'm glad memory is a feature that I was uploaded with. So, very nice. Can people read the graphics on my screen? I'm monitoring myself over here, and I'm a blurry guy. Is this a nice size for graphics? There's a poll in the chat. Oh, Nick Kruger is asking about doing quintuplets. So that's a good idea. I should talk about that a bit. So you can practice quintuplets, but I think practicing quintuplets is like its own thing to practice. So thank you for the feedback, guys, on the screen. Thank you. So quintuplets, I'd say, are worth practicing on their own. Like, so you do it at a slow enough speed that you're not speed training at the same time. So I've got, let's play that much in quintuplets. So first we'll do eighths. 1, 2, 3. Taka, 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 taka. Then triplets. Takita, 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 takita. Then sixteenths. And then here come the quintuplets. And then we switch to sextuplets. This is the sextuplets. Takita, 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 takita. Now, the way I would recommend practicing quintuplets is actually like that, where you go from sixteenths and then you focus on in each click 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. The way I think about quintuplets is sort of like it's got this kind of DJ scratching feel to it, where it's like you're like there's a nice kind of that's I don't know if that's useful for anyone, but it's like you'd be like ooh, oof. I don't know if that's going to be relevant to everyone, but I like to also think about the clicks as launching points. Each click I start a new quintuplet. I mean, as long as you're fitting 5 evenly in there, you're probably on the right track. But that's why it's good to switch from 16ths to quintuplets. Takadimi, 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 taringinatum, 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 takadimi, takadimi, tak. The way I got quintuplets down the very first time I ever worked on it, I was doing Indian rhythmic solfege, which is what I was just presenting, which is called solkatu, and I was practicing ta, din, gi, na, tom, and going from takadimi, 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 tadinginatum, 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 tadinginatum. That's my DJ scratching thing. Takadimi, 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 tadinginatum, 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 tadinginatum. So practicing those while you're walking is really good because you set the tempo with your feet while you're walking down the street. And you go takadimi, 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 tadinginatum, 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 tadinginatum. You try not to change the pace of your walk. You try to walk as naturally as you can. Even though with my hands right now, it makes it look like I'm walking up a wall. It's still, you get the idea. You know what walking is. So the tadinginatum, 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 takadimi, 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 takadimi. So that's a good way to practice as you walk. And then also when people look at you on the street and admire your work ethic and they say things like, shut up. So if you're just joining us, this is a show where I talk about practicing because I love the idea of me practicing. I would like to do it more and consistently, and this is the way I can get myself to do it. But then I can also help other people feel excited and ready to do some practicing and practice more effectively. Music is a team sport. We're all helping each other out, and it's more true now than ever. So now the next thing I've got on this syllabus is improv with 16th note bursts, and I just want to note something that Patrick Milligan just said in the chat, that as a drummer, Patrick finds that walking and working on rhythm has helped Patrick out a lot. So that is good reinforcement there because it's coming from a drummer. And, you know, rhythm is pretty much, that's the biggest thing about drums. I mean, that's my own controversial take on it. So improv with 16th note bursts. So I've had a problem for about as long as I can remember. And I can only remember a few days. But I've had a problem where I can't do 16th note bursts very accurately. So that's just like suddenly, bah, a short amount of 16ths and then you're done. So let's take a look. That's the kind of thing I'm going to work on now, is integrating bursts. Because the thing is, this is a tempo where I can play, but there's a coordination thing missing. And I'm trying to get my finger on exactly what I need to do with my pick, the way I think, the way I relax, the way I attack the string, to let me do those 16th note bursts well. That was a good one. So it's happening sometimes. This is not like a tempo so far beyond my reach that I can never do it. So this is actually a good place for me to start. There it is. Interesting, right? How it's like happening sometimes. There it is. All right. Also, I'm trying to keep it in my wrist and not in my arm. Right here. So let's see. So that was, I was trying to do one of those. just like kind of crummy. That was good. There's an open string in it. Not a lot of tone there, but actually was pretty accurate. Some good ones in there. There you go. I'm specifically trying to do fast alternate picking bursts, by the way. You know, I have to pick, to really get that speed, I have to pick pretty light and get most of my volume from the angle of the pick. And from my left hand being really, really precise. If I focus all my thought on my left hand, let's see how that works. Kind of falls apart towards the end, but actually I think it's helping. There you go. The descending ones are working pretty nice. I have a theory about why that is. I think when I'm descending, there's a lot of volume coming from my left hand pulling off. Pull-offs have a lot of volume to them. Whereas hammer-ons, I mean, really drastically quieter. Because I'm not using a lot of distortion. So on the way down, I don't need as much help from my pick to get that tone. If I went like, I get a lot out of that. Still, I'm fudging it up, so I need to bring my focus in. Start little. Because if I can't do that, if I can't make very accurate tick-a-tick-a-dunts on one note, then I'm helping to narrow down the problem, which is just the picking. Looking at myself as I'm doing that is, for the really fast stuff, I'm still ending up here. The way to address this issue I have, I think best, even though what I'm doing now is productive, the best path for me would just be to go back to strength building. Now, strength building and speed building, a lot of people focus on tempo, and then a lot of people focus on accuracy. Like, for instance, you'd be like, in tempo, you just got to keep increasing that tempo, get faster, and then you'll be faster. Logical, true. Oh, accuracy. You got to play slow and accurate. You got to play everything perfectly and just focus on that first. True. But I think the best work gets done with endurance. So you actually play at a speed that you're already accurate at, but you play for a really long time. So it should be a speed that's fast enough that you get tired while you're doing it, but you're actually very accurate. So you end up with that feeling kind of like when you're running, that like good cramp, like the good, it's like a good, it's a good like lactic acid feeling, whatever that is, when you're getting tired but you're not getting injured. And so I'm gonna actually just do that for a bit, and then we'll move on. So at this loop tempo, I'll make a new loop just to mix things up. So let's do something in E minor. I love E minor. Why not? So. Actually, I'm going to tune real quick. But what I'm going to go for is a tempo where I can just keep playing and work on my endurance. I'm just going to alternate pick 16ths forever until I've gotten buff and swole and ready to hit the club and make even the DJ want to buy me a sandwich. So let's check it out. All right. I gotta press the right sequence of buttons, and we're off. Okay. See if that's good. I don't think so. Alright, we'll try again. That'll be good enough. It's got some little tribulations in there. So let's get that endurance going. Takadimi, 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 takadimi. All wrist. Let's get that baby tired. Picking every note. You have to focus. I will let you know when I'm feeling the burn. I'm trying to reduce how much I'm moving. It's really useful actually that I can see myself on my computer. Starting to feel a little bit of that good burn. You can see how long it takes, which means I'm at a very safe tempo. stay light. Let's see. Well, this is taking a while, and I don't want y'all to get sick of this. So, it was working, and I recommend giving that a shot. Doing the endurance-related picking practice at a tempo that's comfortable, but still causes you to get a little bit of that tiredness. Or, well, actually, over time, more and more, ideally. All right, let's see what's next up on our agenda. The sweeping lick. Uh-oh, I've been interested in this one sweeping lick that cycles through closed position major 7th and minor 7th and minor 7 flat 5 chords. So closed position meaning that the lowest note and the top note fit within one octave, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, and it's not like open position or like spread would be like if it went like 1, 5, 3, where 3 is above 8 or above the octave. So closed position triads on piano are really common. They just look like, like this. Here, I'll even let you hear it. You can even hear. On piano, they're like the first ones you learn. That's closed position, C, E, G. Whereas this would be like a spread, C, G, E. So I'm playing that on guitar, which can be difficult. Like, this is fine. That's F major 7. But then when we get to E minor 7 flat 5, it starts to get a little weird. Not too bad. Let's go D minor 7. I mean, I guess not so bad. But they're much less of a beginner chord than they are on piano. That's your major 7 again. A minor 7. I mean, comparing that A minor 7 to, say, this one, that's way more guitar friendly, as you could guess from looking at it. And then we've got G7, but that's wrong. It's G minor 7, and then F major 7. So the sweeping lick is to play the arpeggio and hammer on top, up the scale to a third from the top note. All right? All right. So I haven't actually played this much before. So I'm going to practice it. Now with sweeping, you definitely want... Oh, and I see a comment here. My tiny fingers are crying. Exactly. It's not the easiest. It's not so easy. All right, so let's get a little practice going. Hey. Too fast. Let's do it at like 130. And see how that goes. And I'm playing at triplets. So maybe I'll switch tempos here to maybe like 180. Now I can do eighths. Alright. Quarters. Alright. So, Hippopotamus says, be right back. We gotta learn how to begin sweeping. And I just want to quickly, like, pop in and say I've noticed y'all are helping each other out with some stuff, like, playing while singing and giving great advice. So thank you so much for doing that. It's way cooler that you guys are, like, helping each other out with all your stuff, because obviously I can't do this and look at the chat very well at the same time. So just the fact that some of you are fielding the questions and really, really offering, like, a lot of great variety of suggestions, I definitely am grateful for that, and also am, like, amazed at the world that we're in where that's a thing. Because when I was learning guitar, I was practicing really hard from, like, 2003. Starting at 2003, I was practicing really hard, and YouTube came out in 2005, and there were just a handful of, like, guitar videos out there, and I think it took like DVDs, to get, like, information. I had to go buy DVDs, and then I had to trust the information was right. But here you get all these different perspectives, and you can, like, vet for yourself what's the right approach for you. So here, let's do this. This is like a sweep that people would probably not learn in, like, a book on sweeping, because these voicings are kind of, like, never used on guitar. One time we used to have Netflix where they, like, mail you the DVD, and one time I ordered this guitar DVD that I thought was instructional by a guitarist named The Great Cat, and she would, like, kind of shred. I think she, like, shredded violin, and then she shredded guitar like violin. And I was watching it, and then she had, like, all this, like, S&M stuff in, like, a music video about torture that, like, suddenly popped up, and I was pretty surprised. I think it's, like, a cool artistic decision. I think I appreciate it more now. So the key with sweeping isn't about strength. It's about coordination. It's about the right hand and left hand being really in sync. Because the actual motions don't require a lot of dexterity. Like, especially in the right hand, I mean, just... The way I imagine it is there's, like, a little string attached to my thumb or something, and it's pulling my thumb down and up as I sweep. Nick Kruger mentioned, I'm going to give you the keys to the Lamborghini, which is a reference to Michelangelo Batio's instructional DVD Speed Kills, which is one of my favorites. I watched that so much when I was growing up. And he says at the beginning, we're going to learn to play lightning fast. I'm going to give you the keys to the Lamborghini. And I was like, fuck yeah. Or, there goes monetization. I was like, hell yeah. I was like, fuck it. I was like, fuck yeah. Lamborghini, that's my car. Now I think I'd rather, like, if someone gave me a Lamborghini, I think I would sell it immediately or hide it, because I don't want to be wearing jewelry when I drive, you know what I mean? Like, I want my car to be jewelry. I don't really get, like, I get aesthetic jewelry, but I don't get, like, look, I bought an expensive thing jewelry. I think it's way cooler, like, if you had money for that, like, to never tell anyone, and just not worry about going to the doctor. Preaching while I'm sweeping. So you notice I'm playing really light. I'm really concerned with my left hand muscle memory, because that is actually the only thing that's weird about this is the left hand, because I've sweeped a lot in my day. You know, like, sweeping is one of the few technical things that kind of has come natural to me. I don't do it like a lot anymore, but I used to. For how little I've worked on it, it's crazy I can still kind of do it. It's another thing that, I should brush up on, and that's why we're here. But anyway, the point is, my right hand's pretty good with that stuff. It's just, I want to get the left hand on board. Yeah, and in case you just saw me doing that and were like, whoa! Keep in mind that that's the musical equivalent of someone like coughing into a mic. It could be good if it was in time. Then it wouldn't be coughing anymore. It'd be like, it's beatboxing. But when you're sweeping like this, you're just coughing. All right, so it's like beatboxing. Think of sweeping without any direction or purpose, which is what I was doing, as the same level of impressiveness as someone who beatboxes like this. It's just don't amount to much. All right. Anyway. Let's try this. That's pretty cool. I found a new way to make it hard and to make it stick in. Man, out of context, that would probably get the video demonetized too. I'm going to practice that more over the week, and we'll bring it back next week. Now, we're on to the next section, singing. And we're going to start with meditative singing. But before I do that, I'm just going to go to the chat and take some questions. So let's see what's been going on over here. Okay. My sweeps always sound so messy. Let's talk about that. So if your sweeps are messy, start focusing more on playing them rhythmically rather than fast. So try like... instead of... because what happens is when you're playing them fast, your right hand is just kind of learning to go blah, 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 blah. But when you play them rhythmically, your right hand's learning something very specific. And I feel like it helps that coordination thing I was talking about solidify more. The coordination between the right and left hand is really what sweeping's about. Another thing, though, is as you're doing that, make sure that you're not picking any of the notes and that you're not giving an individual motion to each note you're sweeping. So like this would be the wrong way. Each note is getting its own little micro motion from my right hand. Instead, it should be like this. Just one strum upwards instead of this. So if the right hand is moving separately for each string, that's poopy and duty. But if it's moving in one fluid motion, that's chocolate shake. And then combine that with rhythm, and you've got all the recipes for success. And Alien Spore Bomb said, if you can't deal with the metronome, get a drum machine and set it to a closed hi-hat. That's cool. I think playing to drums is a great way to mix it up. If you're always playing to drums and never the metronome, I think you miss out a bit, because the metronome's so like you are responsible for the time. This is just going to tell you if you're right or wrong. That is really useful. But drums are useful too. James Steinbaker asks, how often do you end up sweeping in your improvisation? Enough to justify dedicating practice time? I'd say yes. And here's how it ends up being when I'm using it. Okay, hold on. I'm going to get a loop going for you, and we're going to get some movie magic happening. All right, so here we go. Here's movie magic. All right, so I'm going to do like... all right. So stuff like that where I'm transitioning, I'm bridging melodies together. I like to do like medium speed sweeps. You know, especially like it's just like a nice piece of the puzzle. And then like stuff like this, like can be like a nice way to build up a cascading energy. But usually like with rhythm, you know. So that's like me sweeping more than I normally would. But it's sweeping. Hey, my mom and my wife is here. Justice Cow. Jessica Justice Cow Kyan, who's on tour on the West Coast. And who I miss so much. I haven't seen Jessie Cow in 10 days and longer than that. And I miss you. I love you. You're my mom and my wife. Cool. She says, "This is really cool, Ben. I love you, my son. Check it out, Jessica. Look, I've got my screen. See, I'm looking at the chat, and I've got me, which you can see, yeah. And then I've got this piano, all set up in my room, where you often talk to me and see me. Now you're seeing me. Very nice. Oh, and my dad's here. Very good. Very good. I appreciate the love and support. I've got wonderful vibes on this Let's Practice stream. We're learning a lot about the YOLO today. So that was me sweeping and trying to be musical about it for people who are curious about why you would ever want to practice that, why you would want to practice sweeping, because like I said, it's generally used as a form of like diarrhea paint. It's like the diarrhea paint that you put on an otherwise reasonable canvas. So thank you very much to my dad. Welcome. And to everybody who's here. We got Nick Kruger in the house, who I'm collaborating with on an album of lo-fi video game music set to very hard, brutally honest lyrics. Very nice. So anyway, now we're up to the singing part. And it's very exciting. I got permission from the vocal teacher I really like, named Justin Stoney, who has a YouTube channel called New York Vocal Coaching that I linked to in the description. I got permission from him very kindly to use the vocal warm-ups that I've been using from his course in this stream. So I'm actually going to do the first couple. It's going to take about 6 minutes or so. These are my favorite warm-ups that I love to do every day. Let's start with this.
Exercise 1. Warm-up. Nun, 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 nun.
Nun, 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 nun. Nun, 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 nun. Nun, 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 nun. Nun, 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 nun. Hey, Liz. Nun, 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 nun. Nun, 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 nun. Nun, 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 nun. keeping it resonating in my nose. Nun, 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 nun. Not trying to not tense up as I get higher. Try not to raise anything, change anything here as I get higher, but let the sound travel up in my head. Nun, nun, and vibrate using all the resonance. Nun, 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 nun. Nun, 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 nun. Nun, 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 nun. Give it a try. Nun, 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 nun. See if you can tickle your nose with the vibration. Nun, 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 nun. Nun, 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 nun. Nun, 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 nun. Nun, 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 nun.
Exercise 3. Chest voice slides.
Kang, 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 kang. Kang, 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 kang. I'm trying to, as I get higher, not tense up. Kang, kang, kang. Kang, 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 kang. Kang, 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 kang. The reason for letting it resonate in the nose is so you use resonance in your nose. You use resonance in your nose in all kinds of places. Like you just use the resonance in your head in general because resonance is a way to reinforce your vocal tone besides just pushing or like being like harder in your singing. You can use like these sweet spots in your head to get a more full sound. And there are, from my understanding, lots of ways to get a fuller sound. And these exercises that I'm doing are all about training very specific parts. So there's this idea of the mixed voice, which is like when you make a hum, but with an N, or goog, 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 you can feel it. It comes like up here. And if you train that resonance, you can use that resonance more effectively to like bolster certain notes that really want to go up there, certain tones, certain notes. Like I can sing this note, yeah, with a big like, you know, like there's like a roundness and it's my chest voice, yeah, and that's going like straight out, yeah. That's a lot of power. Now, that's not such a crazy note for me, but if I were to go up like to like yeah, like G, I start to hit this area where I get tired pretty fast. I have to be much more careful. I'm not as advanced. Yeah, it can get there. That's like climax material, but I don't want to be singing there all the time. Yeah, but this area, yeah, yeah. It doesn't sound like yeah, very like round, like a falsetto. Yeah, it sounds something like something else. Yeah, and that's using that vibration area. I think that's what I'm getting at. I'm still a student of this, but yeah, way less effort from the resonance. And these exercises are specifically addressing very particular parts of your whole vocal mechanism. And this K-9 exercise now is more about that yeah, chest voice straight out. Let's continue with it. Cane. Cane, cane, cane. I don't remember the
Exercise 3. Chest voice slides. Kang,
Kang, right. Kang. Kang. Oops.
kang,
All right. Kang, 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 kang. Kang, 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 kang. Kang, 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 kang. Try not to do a lot of this or like change my voice. Kang, kang. I'm trying to look boring. I'm looking at myself. Kang, 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 kang. Staying relaxed. Kang, 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 kang. I'm a little louder than I'd like to be. King, 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 king. 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 At the bottom of my range, it's easy to sing, but then I can focus more on being in tune down there and
Exercise 4.
having good tone down
Falsetto.
there.
Third jumps.
King, king. Ho, ho, ho. So this is all falsetto now. Ho, ho, ho. 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 Ho, ho. Ho, 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 ho, ho. All right. Now I'm going to take a break from the warm-ups and go into
Exercise 5.
this
Low larynx. Ascending.
topic of meditative singing. So, I have a very hard time meditating, and I recognize that it would be very helpful for me if I was to do it well. So, something I've been thinking about is, all right, when I'm playing guitar or I'm playing piano, my mind does wander, but it wanders less than when I'm not. And I think it's partially because just as you need to practice meditating to get that level of focus, you have to practice, focusing on an instrument in order to get better at it. So I have a lot of experience focusing on my instrument. And so in the context of playing my instrument, I don't have as much trouble focusing in general. So I'm going to focus in on just these 3 words, "You're not alone," and sing them over and over again, because I think it's good to sing something positive. And sometimes I feel like whatever you do a lot, it becomes more. So if you're like, what you say, even if you don't believe it, sometimes it sort of becomes true as you keep saying it. So for instance, if you're always like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out, I can't stand this. It's not that you shouldn't express those feelings, but what I've been like experimenting with thinking about is like, how can you describe those feelings in a way that makes it clear there's an end to those feelings, like that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So you can acknowledge that you're really stressed out, but be maybe more like, I'm really stressed out right now, which makes it temporary. And like, but but I'm gonna get through this, and like maybe you don't fully believe it, but at least in my experience, I'm not telling anyone what to do here, of course, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But for me, it's like if I say what I want to be true to myself, and especially if I'm singing it over and over again, I change. Like something definitely changes. So it's worth trying. And it's not that I'm feeling particularly lonely, but I just think this would be good song lyrics. And you're not alone. So let's see. The first way I want to sing it is really soft. You're not alone. Let's try it. You're not alone. 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 You're not You're not alone. Now what I'm going to try is changing the vowel shapes, getting different resonance. Things like that, and messing around with that. You're not alone. 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 Let me try my falsetto. You're not alone. Let's try really high falsetto too. Try switching between those two. Yeah, and so with regards to the changing the frequencies, Nick was mentioning that it's like throat singing, which is true. So I'm going to emphasize that more. So if you change your vowel shape, you ever work with an electric toothbrush, or just you're brushing your teeth and you're going like, so you kind of do that with your pitch, with your voice, as you're singing a tone. And you look for sweet spots where you can start to hear, like, there's like a more boldness, more bigness, more resonance to the tone. It's cool to do that, especially in the shower where you have all this, like, the room is just very resonant and there's a lot of echo and reflections. If you experiment with this, you can start to find, like, sweet spots in your voice. Sometimes the E sound is, like, kind of weak in my voice. But if I find the right resonance, can you hear the difference? Versus that's a better shape for my just for me as in my instrument. So you can discover these things by actively experimenting with vowel shapes and tone, all kinds of different words and lyrics. And that's also how the scream singing works from last week. Finding good spots. You're not. See, I couldn't go I had to go in order to get the voice right there. You're not alone. You're not alone. If I'm gonna include pitch, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. I'll show you my favorite scream I ever did record. I think it's coming up. Yeah, so. And no one cares. Here's my favorite scream I ever did record. So that was just like exactly what we're doing here with moving up, like going like oh, but with that added vocal fry. Oh, when you compress that a lot, it sounds epic. So, next we've got singing minor pentatonic scales. So for this, we go back to our friend Justin Stoney's vocal course here. I'm very grateful that he's letting me use these clips. So here I slowed down one of his exercises to make it easier, but it's a pentatonic singing exercise. And if you're just joining us, we're practicing and learning about practice, and we're doing vocal exercises right now. So here's a minor pentatonic scale exercise.
9. Riffs and agility. Pentatonic ascending and descending.
Let's get funky. You. Here's the fast version.
Exercise 9. Riffs and agility.
This is too hard for me. That's why I start with the slow one. You got some good questions in the chat. So, I Need Waffles saying that they've been mystified by singing and people who can sing. And some folks are giving good advice there. I found that the thing that has helped me the most, of course, is to sing often. But more than that, it's nice to have a structure of exercises that increase in difficulty over time rather than every day, like over a longer period of time rather than daily. So what I would do is, actually, I can recommend, there's a couple. So Zach Barlow mentioned Mary Zimmer's Voice Hacks channel. It's a really good channel. I agree with that for sure. I would go to the one, like, I am not like, I have no agreement with New York Vocal Coaching where I'm like endorsing them for any reason besides like genuinely that's what I use. But the New York Vocal Coaching YouTube channel found is like just like really solid for like beginner exercises that as you go through his channel, you'll find that there's more and more advanced stuff. So there's this one video on how to warm up, like if you have to sing in the morning, and the warm-ups are actually, it's a video linked to that. There's like a warm-up video there that on that channel that I found really useful to just get my feet wet, to get started with a safe, healthy warm-up that makes me stronger. And I actually found just doing that helped a lot. What happens if you warm up every day and you don't like blow out your voice, but it's like a real true warm-up, it's not like crazy challenging, is you just start to get stronger. And there's such a thing as just being physically stronger. It's a muscle or whatever it is. I don't know if it's literally a muscle. My dad, if he's still here, can tell me that. But like your strength building with singing is very useful. And people don't really think about like what does it mean to be strong in your voice. Like you can pick stuff up when you're physically stronger, you can run further, but what does it mean to be strong in your voice? Well, once you get strong, you'll know. You'll feel it. So the first thing you got to do is those just good vocal warm-ups that aren't too hard, and you'll find yourself getting stronger. And you'll know what that means when someday the vocal warm-ups are just so easy and you sound better than ever on them. And you're just like, oh, it happened. And that's what happens when you're consistent. Then you can move on to exercises that feel like a little bit more of a stretch, and you just, stay chill, don't do it too much, and gradually increase your challenges, and don't move on to the next challenge until you're feeling like really comfortable with whatever set of warm-ups you have now. But just warming up in exercises goes so far. When you are singing, it gets much harder to practice singing if you've damaged your voice the day before, if you sang too much. So it's important to be really restrained and not oversing. And if you do oversing, which everybody does on accident, it happens. You have to learn where your lines are. Then the next day, just chill, give yourself vocal rest. I hope that's helpful. And yeah, Mary Zimmer's, I think it's Mary Z is like the channel, or Voice Hacks is the channel, but yeah, great instruction and really demystifies the screaming stuff and does a great job of talking about the different parts of your voice in a way that I understand. And she's really good at that screaming stuff. And the channel I've been talking about is New York Vocal Coaching, and there's a link to it in the description because they were very generous and gave me, or maybe I didn't put the link in. I think I did. I thought I did. Let's see. Did I? No, I guess I didn't. I thought I did. Well, New York Vocal Coaching. Let me just do that really quick for y'all. Yeah, but I found their channel to be really effective. Just gonna pull it up for you. Dee. Let me know if y'all have any more questions as we're wrapping up the singing portion of this. Here's a link to the vocal coaching warm-up. I think this is it. At the very least, this is the channel, if not the exact video that I'm referring to. And I'll put that in the description of this live stream. Anyway, this is. In the meantime, I'll play you some music, because I like to keep y'all busy with fun stuff to hear. Here's a unreleased song. Here's an unreleased song. Oh no, I'll do the final master. Here, wait. Sitting up. Okay, there it is. And this is, it is in the description. Thank you. All right, great. This is the puppet show I'm making. If you don't know about that, I understand, because I haven't talked about it. But I'm making a puppet show, and that's part of it. All right, we're back. So, the worm song. All right, time for some piano. All right. So let's take some questions, and then we'll do some piano. All right. So what we got? Can you try singing vocal harmonies? Finding a harmony is something I have trouble with. All right. Yes, absolutely. Let me get my piano sound rolling for you. So what I like to do to practice singing harmonies is actually to practice singing harmonies to instrument tones rather than like vocal parts, because the pitch is going to be like, you never have to wonder, am I out of tune or are you out of tune with vocal harmony stuff. So like I'm going to sing this up this C major scale. I'm going to sing the major third, or the third, away from each note. I'll sing it there, and I'll be like 1, 2, 3. So I'll just keep going up, and I'll say lyrics. How about for the lyrics? It's gonna be eggs and doggies, 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 eggs. Eggs and doggies, 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 eggs and doggies. Now, if you have a hard time with the eggs and doggies, just play both notes and just sing the top note. Then take the top note away. That would be a nice exercise for you. What else? How to learn singing descending intervals. I'm very good with ascending, but not descending. Good question. So for major thirds, I love Beethoven's Fifth, da 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 da, and I like to do atonal descending intervals, or I do atonal intervals in general. So you can go ba 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 ba. You just keep going down major thirds or up major thirds. So let's try going down, because that's what we're talking about. La, yeah, we'll start here. All right. Beethoven's Fifth, Beethoven's Fifth, Beethoven's Fifth, Beethoven's Fifth, Beethoven's Fifth, Beethoven's Fifth, Beethoven's Fifth. That's actually an augmented triad, which is cool. But making yourself do the descending interval outside of the context of a key will help you really get to the essence of what that interval feels like. because if you're doing it tonally, like a descending third, you're gonna naturally be like inclined to do that whatever the third is from the note you're singing in the key. So like if you're singing in the key of C, you're gonna probably go C A. You're probably gonna sing that third da-na instead of da-na. If you've been hearing na na, you're probably not gonna go da-na. Or if you're like from B, ba 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 ba, you will sing the major third because that's in there. So taking it outside of a key forces you to really sing the interval and not just refer to the tonic all the time. Yeah, so an atonal interval is, what Nick said. Basically thinking of the interval outside of the context of a tonal center, exactly. So you're not like thinking about the interval like, oh, this is the 3 to the 1 or the 7 to the 5. You're just thinking this is a major third, and then we're going to go to a major third, going to a major third, that kind of thing. So yeah, y'all are awesome, supporting each other, helping each other learn, and, I'm glad you're all here. YouTube is really cool. I gotta say, I was worried for a minute there. But, I don't know. I don't see any, comments being deleted, really. So, it's a troll-free stream right now. That's so cool. Thank you, everybody. So now let's do the worm song. So, as I mentioned earlier, Nick and I are making a lo-fi video game music album. But first, Buzz E with the donation. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions. If there's any way I can further thank you besides just telling you that is much appreciated over here. It's awkward to thank people for money on the internet while you're streaming, but I definitely like it. So thank you very much. So now, I've watched Twitch streamers, and when money comes in, they just say thank you and then the person's name, which I think is fine and cool. It just doesn't seem like enough, but it is. I think I don't know what it's like to get used to that. But thanks for everyone for being here and for being part of this. Now, so Nick and I are making a lo-fi video game music album with really personal lyrics that are intense, and it's a really cool combination of music you can just kind of have on passively that set a nice vibe. I don't know if y'all probably do because you're on YouTube, but most of you probably like Zelda, and if you ever turn on just the Zelda music to feel that vibe, we're kind of creating new music that sort of brings those feelings forward, but then also feeds you some, I think, very relatable stories. And one of the things we're doing is trying to actually play in some of these dang piano parts. And I, being not much of a pianist at this time, although I'm working on it, I've been learning one of the movements on piano, and it's this nice loop. So the piano kind of loops and different instruments come in, but here's how it sounds. Sorry. All right, it's right here. Here it comes. So it's kind of rubato, and this is where I've got it so far. That's more or less the idea of it. It's a bit faster than that, and I still have a way to go, but that's something I've been practicing a lot. And I kind of like to talk about practicing piano specifically, and some things I've been thinking about with how to do that easier. So there's a lot of the time people say you learn the hands separately, and that's always been what I've heard. If you're learning a piece, learn each hand separately. Try to get each one to be very natural and easy, and then you add them together. And that seems to be right. But there's something that's important to note about that, which is in order for each hand to actually be truly comfortable, it can't just be when you're thinking about it by itself, you execute well. Just because you play it right by itself doesn't mean you're actually at that level of readiness to bring both hands together. In order for both hands to really function well together, there's two things that has to happen. One is each hand has to become muscle memory, not just something you can think through and play accurately when you're thinking, but each hand has to become automatic, you can talk and whatever while it's happening. And then when you bring them together, that's really helpful. But then there is this process when they're being brought together of switching your thinking from two separate things to one cohesive thing. Now I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of that. So if I go... Now this loop is definitely muscle memory. But what I want to do is add a rhythm against it. And if I bring this rhythm in now, I can't really be thinking about the rhythm isolated. I have to think about how these two elements work together. So immediately I poo and pee the bed. So let's see. First I'll try hitting this rhythm on every time my pinky on my right hand plays the B. Now I'll try hitting it on the first D of the phrase. Now eighth notes. And now what I really got to figure out is what I'm trying to do is go 1 2 3 1 da 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 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. I'd like to do a polyrhythm against it, so that works now. So what I was doing is thinking about where this lines up with this. So I'm not thinking of them as two separate things, but I'm thinking of them as one action working together. So we actually have in the chat here Joe Fadum, who is the drummer for Thank You Scientist, and he's quite excellent at limb independence and playing many rhythms at once. Joe, if you were me, how would you recommend practicing polymetric sort of relationship stuff between my hands? What do you do? Do you focus on a grid of where things line up, or do you do one limb at a time? And how do you work out these crazy things I've seen you do, where you're playing in I don't know, you're playing like a kick pattern that is like ding 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 that ding ding ding, and then independently of that, you're doing all kinds of other stuff. So Joe, if you're there, let me know. So let's do a little bit of sound design. Okay, cool. I forgot about that. Nice. So I've been wanting to work on sound design, and it's kind of a blind spot for me. I'm a big presets guy. I don't really feel any sort of shame about that, because the truth is we all have things we've done and things we haven't done. So I haven't done a ton of sound design. I've done a bunch of mixing and a bunch of things that are like sound design, but not sound design. So I'm going to get Massive up here, because Massive is laid out in a way where like I can move knobs around and find out what happens. And so what I want to do is start with this very basic sound and just move knobs around and understand what's what. So we've got the wet position. Only major idiots use presets. That's a good point. Like, why should anyone be ashamed of that? So here's a sine wave, just starting out with a pretty neutral tone here. Let me make sure things are working. Yeah. I'm actually going to record this. It's pretty nice. So that's nice. Make sure it's a good loop. And I'm going to loop it. Alright. So let's sound design the hell out of that. I'm just going to write something to that that's focused on texture, focused on sound. Okay. So now I've got another instance of Massive open, also with the sine wave sound. Let's just start playing around with wet position intensity. Let's see what these effects are like here. I'm going to put a delay. It's a synced delay. The feedback will change how many repeats of the delay. That's nice. I like the synced delay. That's nice. Okay. Inspiration has struck. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record that line, and then I'm going to automate some sound design. I don't remember what I did. Okay, that's the idea. All right, now I'm going to quantize it all the way. 1 and 2, yep, 2/8. All right, so I'm reading the chat, and there's some really good points being made, like that, you know, the interface of Massive would probably be pretty confusing to look at for anyone who's never used it before, and I totally agree. Like, all right, first of all, this is confusing to me, and all I'm doing, I know, here's what I know. I'll tell you what I know, and it won't take very long. The sound comes from oscillators. So oscillators send sound, they like are where the sound is made. And there's 3 of them here. The amp seems to be like volume, so the fact that the amp's down on these 2 oscillators means we're only using this one oscillator right now. If you add more oscillators, it's like blending multiple sounds. It'd be like if you had like 2 different pianos playing at once, each with a different tone or something. And I have a square to saw wave setting here, which I think just means that this knob of intensity is changing square waves into saw waves or something. So if you listen to what happens when I'm playing and moving this knob, it's just getting brighter. Dark, 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 dark. Very bright. And if my wet position was all the way up, I'm pretty sure I'm not exactly sure what's what, but you can hear what the sound difference is. Like that sound versus that sound. So I'm just kind of going with sound more than knowledge right now. And I'd like to fill in the gap with some knowledge, but that's something I'll do on my own. And then here, I know you can like set up effects like delay, reverb. And so I just picked a delay. And that's really all I'm going to mess with is the intensity knob here. And I think you can like attach any of these parameters. Like there's a way to make them be controlled by like other stuff, and like that's what I want to get into. I haven't done it. But like presets, like a lot of people use presets as they're saying in the chat, which is good. Because like I don't want to make it seem like there's something wrong with that. It's just personally I want to learn. I want to know. I own this expensive software, Massive. I mean, I don't know how much it actually costs anymore, but it's expensive to me. At least it was. And I don't remember what it was, but I remember just being like Contact was expensive. Anyway, I have it. Don't want to waste it. So I want to learn it. All right, so we're going to do some automation now with that one knob that makes things brighter. And we're just going to do some swells here. We'll loop a little section. Quantize everything. Oh yeah, that's the sound. That's what everyone wants. Alright. Cool. Now let's see what happens if I change... What if I change the rate of the delay? Will we get the cool squiggle effect? Can I change the rate of the delay? I think that's saying quarter note. I don't know. I'm sure someone knows. Nick, how do you change the rate of the delay? I'm sure I'll find out in a bit. That's what I'm going to do next. In the meantime, I'm going to put an effect. I put a delay over the whole thing. Or no, I'll put let's do something else. The crystallizer is always fun. Okay, thanks, Nick. Alright, I'll do that in a second. So, the numbers. Where is the delay? The delay is the white numbers in the black letters. Good. Yes. That's pretty interesting. Let's see what happens. Okay, I don't think I can automate that. That's okay. I'm going to automate the crystallizer. So I've got the crystallizer, which is like a delay that uses a special way of doing delay that makes it sound like crystals. So right now they're reversed, the crystals. I'm going to make them not reversed. Let's try moving the recycle knob. It's sort of like feedback. So I'm going to automate the recycle knob. I think that'll be cool. And I'll put that on a curve, kind of like the timbre curve. I'll just go straight up, all the way up. Bam. Cool. I just want to hear a thump at the beginning. I'm gonna record a thump. What should I use for a thump? Let's see. Crap! Okay. Let's get that going. clips nicely. Let's hear what the clipping Crotali, or not Crotali, whatever that drum is called, I forgot. Let's do the clipping drum. Alright, so now we have this little this little thump. Very weak. So let's sound design the crap out of that. So I'm going to use distortion to make it a big boy. And I'll use this pretty like fuzzy distortion here, decapitator. It's a fuzzy guy. Here's how it sounds. I'll loop this so you can hear. So if I add a drive, it doesn't add much low end. But if I make the tone darker and maybe a little bit less high end and make the punish knob there, adjust the mix, how much of the distortion versus the dry signal, it's starting to sound a bit better. So now what I'll do, I'll add an EQ to it to bring out some more of the low end. Pump it up around 100. I'm actually liking it right around there. Alright, and now we'll duplicate it. And this one I'm going to pitch shift down an octave. Make them both quieter because they're clipping. See what that's like. Oh, interesting. I'm going to make the one that's not pitched down an octave pretty wide. So for this I'll use a plugin called Microshift that basically, I think what it does is it like pans a duplicate of itself left and right and then detunes them and adds delay to them a little bit, so that even though it's two copies of the same sound panned on each side, they're slightly different. So you get this wide effect. And listen to how wide this is now. This is bypass right in the middle. And now look how wide. That's wide. Well, I like that chunk, you know. So that's some good sound designing. I don't know. I feel like I've got to go soon, and I think we got a little chunk, and that's a good way to start. It's a good way to get started. So let's see what else we got. I think that's the end of the syllabus there. Yeah. So that's everything I wanted to practice today. We did it. 2 hours, practiced everything. Learned a bit about what I need to work on. There's some stuff with sweeping that I hadn't done in a while that I'm going to clean up and try to get rhythmic. We did some improv, some piano, thinking about different rhythms. So I'll just take some questions from y'all if you have any, and then we'll call it a fantastic day. It was fantastic. I'm going to look through and see if there's any old questions that are useful, and let's see. Do. Wow, lots of people are here. It's very nice. Yeah, so good question from Griffin. Is this weekly? So I'm going to be doing these on Sundays when I'm not on tour or doing some sort of thing that's like out of town. So I'm not going to have another one of these until I'll tell you exactly when the next one's going to be. It's going to be on September 15th, same time, same place. On September 15th, I'll have the next one. People were asking why I delete, why, whoops, sorry. All right. So yeah, people are asking why do I not upload the videos, or why do they go private? They stay unlisted, so if you're here right now, go ahead and save the link. It'll still work for you. But I have a Patreon reward tier, which is that people in the archive level, they get everyone gets to see the archive of all the live streams I've done. And because they're supporting me in that way, and like making this meaningful, big contribution to me being able to sustain myself, I think it's really important for me to, fulfill my promise to them and give them the streams and make it like something special for them. But nonetheless, it's unlisted and not private. So if you're here, just save the link, and if you want to support my Patreon or not, that's totally fine. But you'll still get to watch this again if you just keep the link. I'm very glad everyone's here. I think this is maybe one of the coolest things ever, that like you can have like a meetup like this. It feels really good to me to be able to like hold myself accountable for practicing, and then also like be teaching and like fulfilling this other like aspect of my mission at the same time, and just giving me a lot of encouragement and incentive to keep practicing and being like a musician, even though like there's a lot of things pulling me away from it. So all right, I appreciate y'all, and I hope you have a really wonderful day, that you have plenty to practice, and that music is a positive force in your life that helps you continuously feel like there's something exciting to look forward to, and something you're improving at, and that you don't let it weigh you down. So thank you, everyone. I'll see you. I'll have videos every week, and then I'll live stream with you in a few weeks. Bye-bye. Da 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 da, playing the outro music. Da 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 da. Who are